Yeah. It's so small, we don't need to be so formal.
Thank you everyone for coming this evening. I'm Stephen. I'm the curator of Charles's exhibition at Number 1 Gallery, which is just started on last Saturday at down at Siloam Galleria, which is just up that way. Please go and see it if you have time. It's on until January 21st, or maybe a little bit later now, I'm not sure. But I met Charles at the Singapore Biennale earlier this year through Keo, and I really liked his work and the process of his work, and found it very interesting, and really wanted to get Charles up to Bangkok and to show his work up here. So we've been working on it together since then, and the exhibition shows 200, it's an installation of 300 drawings. 200 of them are previous works from the series Corpus that when did you first put that together?
It's starting in about 2010-11, so the last 2 years.
Yeah, and that's in the middle of the gallery, and we've done, Charles and I have constructed this parasitic framework around the gallery to pin the drawings onto, and in the middle of the room are the Corpus drawings, and then around the outside are 100 drawings that Charles has been putting together. And they're all Thailand specific. Are they all Bangkok specific? They're all Bangkok specific. Yeah, it's just, I think it's a pretty ambitious show for Bangkok, and it looks very atmospheric, and please go and see it if you get the opportunity. Charles has also just released a new book for the Corpus drawings, which is available here if you want to have a look at it. It's just being published in Hong Kong, and Charles has bought a few copies that are hot off the press. Yeah, I don't know how, you just have a few copies, but if you would like to have a look and maybe buy one, Keo has them over there. And with that, I'll hand you over to Charles, who's going to talk a bit deeper about his work and his earlier work as well, and what's led to this exhibition. Yeah?
Yeah.
So, Charles.
Sounds good.
Yeah?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks everybody for coming and for being patient while we wait for people to get through traffic. I'm glad it's small. What I feel like I'm going to do is kind of go back and start with some early work, but move pretty quickly through almost 20 years of work to the present, to my current project. That being said, as I'm going through things and talking about things and showing images, if anybody has any questions, comments, thoughts, feel free to interject, and we can make this more of a discussion than just a very formal lecture. I prefer that. Oh, good, good. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, very clear.
It's all right. We don't need it. We don't need it. But maybe I don't know. If people feel like they want to get a little closer, you can. Don't rush. Don't rush forward or anything. But you know, there's some seats in the front, and you can if you try to sneak out, we're going to see you anyway. So I'm starting with a quote by the French theorist Henri Lefebvre. I don't know if you want to translate this quote. Anyway, so I put this up because Lefebvre is somebody who's important to me personally, and starting back when I graduated from UCLA. Well, I technically didn't graduate, I kind of left, but in 1990, I started, at that point, deciding to make work that was not a real, I decided not to have a real studio-based practice, but in fact was interested in exploring the space of the city as a sort of starting point for more what I think of as investigations than as a practice of making art. For me, the art is always kind of the byproduct of a process of investigation and searching and self-reflection. That's kind of fundamental to the work. So, and this quote by Lefebvre for me really gets to the core of my interest, which is really a relationship between the body and space, or subjectivity and the city, the way that the two go hand in hand. I think for me, I was always interested in this idea that our own sense of self is always informed by the place we are in.
No translating that? No?
Do people read? Okay.
The people get it in English.
Okay. If you don't understand something and want something explained in Thai, feel free to raise your hand. So this is a collage by Guy Debord and Asger Jorn, who at the time of its making in 1958 were both members of the Situationist International. What this is it's a psychogeographic map of Paris, and I show this in the beginning because in 1990, as I left UCLA, I discovered the Situationist International, and their writings, theories about arts, society, revolution, and urbanism were very important to my work. In particular, the notion of psychogeography. I don't know if any of you have heard of psychogeography. It's kind of a pseudoscience, but psychogeography deals with the way that, as I said, the way that our sense of self is deeply related to the places we inhabit, the places we find ourselves in. So, in a way, psychogeography deals with the way that our own emotions and psychology are affected by the city. So in this map, parts of Paris have been taken apart, and the red arrows actually mark these kind of psychogeographic currents that move through the city. Psychogeography also plays upon the way we perceive a city. In other words, when you walk down a street, why is it that you notice some places, some buildings, some signs, anything, but then other places maybe you don't notice, and maybe most people don't notice those places. There's a kind of a way that our perception is affected by things in the city, so that some things stand out more than others. And in some ways also the city is designed to channel us into, for example, the nearest shopping mall, and maybe guide us, kind of psychologically repress us and direct us away from some places, government buildings or things like that. I mean, and this is all part of, in some ways, the conscious construction of the city. So, with this in mind, I started making work that first and foremost involved an exploration of the city. So, unfortunately, I don't have documentation of this piece, but this photograph is of a sofa on the streets. At the time, through all of the 90s, I was living in Los Angeles, and Los Angeles was a very fertile ground psychogeographically. So one of the early projects I did in 1992 was to document every abandoned sofa on the streets within a 1-mile radius of my house. Going through every street, every alley. And in fact, there turned out to be about 42 of these sofas, which sort of were there. This show that we're looking at was my first solo show in New York in 1992. So in addition to showing the photographs of the sofas, at the time I was also collecting the sofa cushions and mattresses. And adorning them with the same kind of little map tacks and map flags that you use on on maps to show locations of things, like this. So this is a detail of one of the cushions.
And are they actual mapping real things, or it's an aesthetic?
They're kind of mock battles. Usually there would be like two colors, red and black, kind of in formations, sort of formations of the red kind of swarming in on the black. So I thought of them as battles, and I was sort of interested in this inversion of domestic space and public space. The thing about the mattresses and the sofas is that, when they're inside of our house, they become such a part of our intimate interior life, this kind of private life. But then at some point they get dirty enough, they get kind of messed up enough where they're no longer wanted, and they get ejected from the house, and suddenly they're on the street, where everybody can see your dirty laundry in a way, all the stains and things. So like the stains and the tears and all these kind of marks of the body, marks of our interior life, were kind of important for me. And the kind of battles that I placed on the cushions sort of worked their way around the landscape of the cushion or the mattress. I also, being interested in the body, kind of this relationship between the city and the body, I started to look for ways to actually put myself and my own body into the work. So this is an acupuncture treatment, a real treatment where I got the acupuncturist to put the little flags that I was using on the sculptures, on the pins, and kind of map in a way my own psychogeography. I also at the time started doing these pieces where I took blindfolded walks in different cities, in different places. This is in New York in 1993, around Tompkins Square Park in the East Village. Tompkins Square Park at that time had just recently, prior to this, been a kind of battleground, a contested social space in New York, where it had been a kind of homeless encampment, and lots of sort of hippies, prostitution, drug use, and things were taking place there. The city decided to clean it up by quote-unquote renovating the park. So for this blindfolded walk, I actually walked the whole circumference of this park in New York City. The suit, I should add, is actually something I had made It's made out of chroma key blue backdrop cloth, which is that kind of specific blue. Now they use green screen, but back then it was blue screen. They use for special effects photography when you're making like a science fiction movie. You know, this blue is supposed to disappear in a way, but ironically, it makes you very visible to be wearing this blue suit up in space. This is a raincoat made out of old home movie screens, the kind of glass beaded screens, you know, for those kind of roll up film screens. So clothing started to become important to me because again I was looking for a place where the city and the body meet, where this kind of interface between self and space. And so this kind of chroma key blue suit, theoretically you could put it on and disappear. This kind of overcoat of an old movie screen sort of acknowledged the way that we are constantly being projected onto, you know, that we're sort of inscribed by the spaces we walk through. These were ideas I was thinking about. This was a part of an exhibition in 1994 that took the city of Paris as a point of investigation. The two futons are actually made in the shape of the icons of the Sacré-Cœur and the Cathedral of Notre Dame. They were called horizontal monuments. These two-dimensional works on the back are paintings on top of the map of Paris, in which I painted out, in this case, the whole city is painted out red, but the little black shapes are where every police station in Paris is. And this one, you can't really see it, but there's red shapes where every fire station is. So again, I'm trying to look at the city as a totality and look at its space and the way that power is distributed through the city. I mean, for me, power is also something that I'm very conscious of in terms of the way a city is constructed and the way that it influences us. This is a poster I made for an exhibition called Night Moves. This is me in the kind of 70s, kind of like a Hollywood 70s movie. You know. There is a movie with Gene Hackman called Night Moves. It's very good. And these pieces are just photographs. They're kind of photo collages, and it was very, very simple. I would go out into the city at night and photograph all illuminated signage around the city. Just, you know, one night was the red night, one night was the blue night. And really what I have to sort of say is that the work, these little photo pieces, they're not that big. They're just a byproduct. For me, the whole piece was just to get out and stay out driving around and walking around Los Angeles all night long, every day for a week, basically. You know, the work, the various projects always become an excuse for me to do something that I'm interested in doing. Usually something about exploring the city, a particular place, or during a particular time. And there's also this aspect. Somebody once wrote about this, but there's also this aspect of cruising. Like, you know, when people go cruising for sex. Right? People know what this term is, cruising for sex. You know, because I mean, when you're cruising, you're out in the city and you're looking for something, right? You're looking for a man or a woman, generally. I mean, in this case, I'm sort of looking for illuminated signage, but there's this idea of a kind of heightened state, a kind of, I don't know, for lack of a better word, a horniness that you know, that I, as a subject, am sort of interested in. And when you're sort of out in the city, the way that it's charged, it's sexual, it's right, you know, it's. You know, you're sort of looking for something, and maybe you find something that you're not looking for, or maybe you find the thing you're looking for and you're disappointed. But you know, there's always things to be found. And so the work is just about putting myself in that place of looking, finding, searching, longing. Desire plays a big part in my work. This was an important show that I did 10 years ago, 11 years ago in Los Angeles. The show consisted of 3 photographs, a series of drawings, and then this one sculpture. Okay, so the sculpture is called Disappear, Shirt That Passed Through My Body. What this is it's just a plain white dress shirt, that my own shirt, that I cut up into 2-inch squares. I took each square, I folded it up, I put in a little balloon, and I swallowed it. And then as all the pieces, all the balloons made their way through my body, I collected them again and put the shirt back together. Okay? Is this everybody? Cal Jack? So I cut the shirt up into 2-inch pieces, put each piece in a little balloon, swallowed it.
Right.
And then after the individual pieces in the balloons made their way through my body, I collected them and put the shirt back together.
Did one of the pieces get stuck, or what?
One piece missing. There's a missing piece, which was absolutely devastating to me because I was very careful. I don't honestly know what happened. Number 108.
That's really what?
Yeah, it's missing, and it was terrible because it's right there in the front. It's actually the buttonhole, which I thought was sort of, I don't know.
It's possibly still in you today.
I have no idea. The staining, what's interesting is, occasionally the balloons would rupture. But even if they didn't rupture, there was always there was a sort of permeability to the balloons where fluid would get in. Stomach fluid. I used the kind of balloons that you make blow up weenie dogs and stuff, like the real skinny little ones. So.
How long?
Did you swallow them one right after the other, or you waited for one to pass before you started?
Okay, well this is a good question because there are 597 pieces total. So being kind of a good conceptual artist, my idea at the beginning was just do one a day. And I actually started Christmas Day 1998. After 2 days of that, I was like, no way do I want to do this for 2 years. This is just, So then I started swallowing 20 to 30 pieces every day. Every day was color-coded. That was the other thing. So all the pieces are numbered. It was very methodical. All the pieces are numbered so I could sort of put them back together. And then every day the balloons I used were all color-coded. I had this sort of ongoing diary. And, it was very, very systematic. In the end, it took 2 months to fully process the shirt and then put it back together.
Did you use any kind of laxative to speed up the process?
Oh no, I didn't know.
Just because of the stains and maybe coffee or something.
Yeah, it's just you learn a lot about your metabolism by doing this.
What kind of enlightenment did you get from this?
It changed my life.
Yeah.
Nothing. So every single day I did this and was walking around with this essentially foreign object inside my body, swimming around, and I decided when I started the project to tell nobody. Nobody. I was married at the time. I didn't even tell my wife. because I didn't really know how to explain it. I didn't want people talking to me about it. I didn't know if it was even going to be good art. I didn't know if it was going to make good art. I mean, there was a real possibility I would never finish this. I didn't, so I just thought, okay, I'm just going to keep it a secret. And that decision was the best thing about the project. Secrets are powerful. So every day I had this really powerful secret. I was doing this thing that was really strange. And I honestly, I felt like I was on drugs. Like my perception of the world, there was this ironic reversal where by doing this, I became very, very aware of my own body, and particularly thinking about the interior of my body every day, like conscious of just imagining, sort of visualizing the trajectory of these little balloons going through my digestive tract. But then, at the same time, my awareness of the outside world, of where I was in the world, of the places that I was going to, was also very heightened. So there was this kind of, I felt like one of those Chinese nesting dolls, with one inside the other, inside the other, inside the other, where I was very much aware of this kind of micro situation where it was these things in me, that I'm in this thing, and then, yeah,